host for today. At Symbiosis Skills and Professional University, Kivle campus, Pune, we have the School of Beauty and Wellness, under which we have three niche courses of BSc Beauty and Wellness, BSc Nutritional Sciences and Dietetics, as well as MSc in Nutritional Sciences and Dietetics. We have a pedagogy of the university where we have 70% learning by doing, that is practicals and skills, and only 30% through theory interactions. And we also have a very important USP of every year internships for our students. With this, I'm delighted to invite a special guest, Ms. Sudipta Sawant ma'am, who is a food safety expert with 14 years of experience in regulatory compliances and quality assurance. A warm welcome once again, ma'am, to you. Yeah. And before I introduce you to her, this podcast basically is to have the pedagogy of our university, that is having interactive sessions with industry experts so as to understand the scope of nutrition. And it's not only your clinical or your sports, but there are other aspects of nutrition also that students should be understanding through various food industry experts. So this is why the main aim for our today's podcast is with Ms. Sudipta ma'am. Sudipta ma'am has held various important roles such as a lead instructor for food safety and an auditor for top standards like ISO 22000. Currently, she serves as a manager of regulatory compliance and exim at Fortune Gourmet Specialties, where she has also successfully managed to import compliances of 175 different products. So we have a very interact. We would looking forward to a very interactive session and a learning session from you, ma'am. And so we are very thrilled to have her join to discuss the vital role of nutritionist in a food industry. So let's give ma'am a very warm welcome to Ms. Sudipta Biswas ma'am, and welcome to you to the podcast again, ma'am. And we are very excited to have you. So with this, I look forward to have your interactive session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Nalini. I'm delighted to be here. So how is it going to be? You will be asking me questions and I answer your questions, or how do you want it to be?
Yes, ma'am, we can do it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So, ma'am, starting with the first question, how do you envision the role of a nutritionist in shaping the future of the food industry?
Yeah. So now, as you rightly said, nutritionist is not just related to clinical or sport nutrition, or sometimes people also think that it's a role of a dietitian. So we have to understand that the role of a dietitian and a nutritionist is totally different. Okay, dietitian is someone who counsels a person to what to eat, what not to eat, depending on his medical conditions. But a nutritionist is a person who can, actually formulate a food which is good with some nutrient in it. Okay, so it is the other way around. It is both sides of the coin, but then still there is some difference between them. So now, if you see after COVID, the role of a nutritionist in any kind of a food industry or in general in our day-to-day life has gained importance. So in the industry, if you see, there are products that are coming up with enhanced nutrients, like you have more of dietary fiber, or you have more of probiotics, prebiotics, then some vitamins, minerals. So there are many products that are coming into the industry related to the nutrition. So I think it's a long way. And again, there is a special wing in FSSAI now which handles nutraceuticals. So that is something that is a very promising future that you have, because nutraceuticals are somewhere, they are neither food, they are not pharmaceuticals. So, but they are going to affect your body in a positive way if you take it in the right way. Okay, so that is what I think is the role of a nutritionist, because all these companies are definitely going to need nutritionists to be working with them. Rather than an R&D specialist, they require nutritionists to actually find out which ingredient or which nutrient has to be in what combination, in what level in that particular product, so that it is effective. So there's
Very
a very good scope for nutritionists.
Thank you for explaining in such a simple words, ma'am. You really explained it well, the question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Going to the next question. Could you tell your experience as a fresher in this field, and thereby how was your professional path shaped into reaching to this level?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting story. So I started my education. I would start my education with graduation. So I did my graduation from Pune, from SNDT College. So that was in food science and quality control. So that's something which is very core to the food industry. But then during my masters, I came to Mumbai because I wanted to explore living alone, to be independent. So I took up a course which was MSc in food science and nutrition. So this particular course gave me a lot of knowledge about how nutrition works. Okay, so in FSQC also there is scope of nutrition, but not that much because it's more industry oriented. But then when you do a MSc in food science and nutrition, you get a holistic view of how nutrition is also playing a role. So both these courses have definitely helped me whatever I am today. So when I started my career, when I just passed out of MSc, I was looking for a job. And at that time, I saw a vacancy of a food microbiologist. Although I was not that interested in being one, but then, after you pass out from your exams, your family is behind you that please take up a job, do something, do something. So then, okay, I said, okay, fine. Let me go and let me take up the job of a food microbiologist. So yeah, thankfully that was in Pune, that was in Nafari. I think most of you know Nafari over here. So at the time, Mr. Vinay Oswal was the director. So I went in for this interview, and in the course of interview, when he was interacting with me, he came up with the idea that Sudipta, I feel that you are not destined to be a food microbiologist. I think you would do better in a business development role. That was a shocker. Like, I had never thought of myself being a business development officer in the food industry. So, but I thought, okay, let me see. Now he's a very experienced person. So he must have seen something which is, worth it. So let me give it a try. So I joined Nafari as a business development executive. So Nafari, as you all know, is a food testing laboratory. So my job over there was to go to clients, explain them what Nafari services are, and get samples for testing in our laboratory. Quite a simple job. But then over here also, what happened is because I was from that particular background of food science and quality control and food science and nutrition, I could explain to the client very well why he needs to do this test. Because they think कि चलो कोई आ गया, चलो मार्केटिंग कर रहा है, उनको पैसा चाहिए, सैंपल चाहिए, दे दो, खत्म करो. But I went a step ahead. I told them the significance of doing the testing, why it is required, why microbiological tests are required, why chemical tests are required. So that gives a deeper understanding to the client itself. And then that builds confidence that, okay, the samples where I'm giving are going to go in good hands and I'm going to get a good result. So that was my first brush with the food industry, and I liked that job. So eventually, we also came up with a course which was for food analysis. So I was the course coordinator for that. So I had that kind of experience also. Since after that, I would say that I went into teaching, I went to research. Then slowly, I have come into this field, which is called regulatory compliance. So this is one field which is right now gaining a lot of scope because FSSI is very active right now, and the food industry is not that up to the mark with the FSSI regulations. So, a scope for a food compliance specialist over here is very important to let the industry understand what FSSI is trying to do and also let FSSI understand what the industry requires. Because this is where the gap lies because the regulators are coming up with regulations so that they can make food safety stronger, but they are not able to understand what hindrances the food industry is going through because these regulations are not based on the experiences that the food industry is having. So for this, you have to play a role in the as a licensing officer, and then you have to find out what are the challenges that the food industry is having when they are going to follow a particular regulation. If you can collect that particular data and give it to the FSSAI, they can definitely work on it, and they can modify or revise the regulation for the industry. So I think regulatory compliance, where I am right now, is a very important field right now for any person who wants to be in that kind of an interactive kind of a job. So that's my journey till now.
Let me tell you, it's a very, very, you've adapted to a lot of different situations. Start from, with a microbiologist job. Okay. I mean, yeah, I know in food science and quality control, you would have a subject just one semester of food micro, and even in your food science and nutrition. But to take up a job of a food microbiologist is really very challenging, and you were very, very adaptive. So, from your stepping stone was that you are adapting to the situations. So like even your mentor told you, Vinay Oswal sir told you that you could be going into a different role. So that role was also adapted by you in a very, very effective way. So I think the key to this answer to what you've just given, that is your experience, and then how do you reach to this, is that you do not have to be very rigid that okay, I have
Yes.
done this particular course and I'm interested only in this part. So I should be getting a job of only this domain, especially in nutrition when we have 6 to 7 domains under nutrition itself. So very nicely answered, ma'am. Thank you, and I hope our
Welcome.
students are finding it really very interesting.
I would like to point out another thing. Like in
Yes.
your course of your professional journey, many students will also face that one sentence, which I also faced whenever I went for a new job. Because if you see my job, my career till now has been in varied things. I started with a business development. I went into teaching. I went into research. Then I went for some part I was into QA. Then I was into regulatory compliance. So it's many feathers in my hat. But then when you go for an interview and they're looking for someone who is hardcore of that particular thing, they think that people who are hardcore only can do the job. It's not that way. You need not be a professional which has 5 years of experience to do that particular job. You should have knowledge, you should have the resources that are required to do the job, but all this what you have done in your past is also going to help you do that. So that is everything. I think everybody should remember that whatever you're learning, even if it is just cooking at your home or doing anything, like any small job also that you're doing, or as an internship, what you're doing is going to definitely help you in your career. So don't think that why should I do this? If I want to become a QA, I don't need to do something which is related to marketing. Don't do that. Take that experience. You'll understand, you'll have a holistic view of yourself, your capabilities, and you can perform better in whichever industry you join.
The knowledge and the experience is never going to be wasted. Thank
Yes, correct.
you. Okay. Over to the next question, ma'am, with your permission. Yeah.
Yes,
In what ways is nutrition influencing the innovation and the development of new food products? I think some part you've already,
already covered.
but just to highlight more on the other than the part that you've answered already. I think you've spoken about the nutraceutical part, right?
Yes.
Other than that, also, could you just tell our students that is what are the factors that influence into a product development?
Right. So, see, whenever you're doing a product development, it is definitely the consumer acceptance that is of top priority. So, even if you have a very good product with very good nutritional value, and if it doesn't look good, taste good, smell good, nobody's going to eat it. So, that is your top priority, that you have to make a product which is of that particular acceptance. So, now your acceptance also is based on the age group. So whatever products that you're making, you have to take care whether I'm making this for a younger child, I'm making it for an adolescent, I'm making for an adult, or for a geriatric kind of a nutrition, or for a pregnant lady, or for a lactating lady. Whichever age group that you choose, you have to make sure that it is going to be accepted by that particular age group. So now I'll give you an example. Everybody knows that digestion is very important. I think somebody is sharing screen. Are you?
No, ma'am. 1 second. I'll just lock the meeting. 1 second.
Okay, so I'll continue. So
Yeah, yeah.
everybody knows that digestion is very important. Everybody knows the role of probiotics and prebiotics in our daily diet. Okay, so but how many of us really eat probiotics or prebiotics on a daily basis? Although we know it is very good for our gut. Why? Because we have very limited options right now, which can give you the probiotics and prebiotics. So, if you go by the routine or the layman's understanding, for probiotics, the two things will come to your mind. One is the Yakult, which is a beverage, and second is curd or yogurt. Okay, but then we can't have that on a daily basis. Everybody will get bored. So now, understanding this kind of a situation, there have been innovations in the food industry wherein these probiotics and prebiotics have been used in other food products which are not related to dairy, but they have been used in other food products, maybe such as jams or something which is more commonly eaten by the common population. So these particular products can be encapsulated or taken in some other form and added to these kind of products and make different variety of products which are more acceptable. So similarly, you have so many other nutrients which are very important, but then the main source of that nutrient is boring for that matter. So then you have to make it interesting. You cannot just tell ki ha ye this is very good for your health. You have to eat it every day. Nobody's going to listen to you. For a day or two they will, but then once you turn your back, nobody's going to eat it. So you have to make sure that it is something which is interesting to that person to eat, and he knows, okay, after eating this, I am going to get some benefits. So I think that is one driving force that is there in the food industry right now to drive the innovation.
Would you like to give any example of such ingredient that you think that it is very very nutritive, but not very acceptable in the market? But how, as a nutritionist, you can incorporate?
I think fiber is something which is important, but then fiber, you have these fiber rich biscuits which are available in the market. But then if you go by the reviews that you get for these fiber rich biscuits, they say that mitti ke jaise lagta hai, it tastes like mud. So then definitely fiber is important, but then you have to find different innovative ways in which it can be incorporated in some other food in some way so that it becomes more acceptable. So everything is related to the gut. If you go by that, some everything whichever boils down to the gut. If you have your gut which is good, then everything is.
Something like ma'am moringa or something which has
Yes.
very health benefits. Something like that can be incorporated. How do we incorporate that in a food product? Is something the skill that a nutritionist or a food
Yes,
industry expert
definitely,
will.
definitely. Moringa in itself, you can make a vegetable out of the leaves and eat it, or you have drumsticks. But then sometimes that's not possible. So then you have powders which are available in the market. Those powders can again be used in soups. It can be used in your what do you say, matris. So these are different products which are acceptable by the common public. Some snack section is a section which is most acceptable in all age groups. So it
Especially in
it
India.
cuts across all the age groups. So snack industry is someone which has the most potential to have a very nutritious kind of a snack system in the future.
So, with this, we go to the next question. That is, could you explain the importance of packaging in your food industry and how does it relate to maintaining your nutritional value?
Yes. See, packaging right now plays a very important role. Why? Because now not the industry, the consumers are not very keen on having products which have preservatives. So
Hmm.
there's this fad. It's not a fad. It's actually a required thing that you should not
Aware.
have foods. Yeah, you should not have foods which have a lot of preservatives. They are going to harm your body in some way. So packaging has gained more importance in this. So I don't know whether all of you have learned. We had learned a concept called hurdle technology when I was in college. So hurdle technology is something wherein you do food preservation, but then you use different techniques. So it is maybe a preservative, then you have a moisture control, then you have a oxygen barrier, then you have something else. So these are different ways of preservation. So in this, the packaging material plays a very important role wherein you can use a packaging which will not let moisture in, not let the oxygen in, Or maybe if you're going ahead with a frozen kind of a product or a chilled kind of a product where that product does not need to have any preservatives. The frozen products don't need to have preservatives, so that particular product is the most nutritious, and it is said that it is more closer to what it is actually there. So it's more closer to what you actually have it in fresh form. You just thaw it or you fry it or whatever is the procedure that's required. But then in that, the packaging is a very important thing, because if the product catches the moisture, or if it catches a freeze burn, then your product quality is deteriorated, let alone the nutritional value. So I think it plays a very important role right now. So there's a lot of scope if you are a nutritionist also, and if you are in that R&D space, you want to do some R&D, you can also venture into packaging. So that's a very good area to explore.
And so, ma'am, also with the edible packaging and the other forms of packaging, the newest forms which are coming, even with the AI and the machine learning concepts, this is also some aspects which can be explored by a nutritionist itself.
Yes, that is. But then that's a little bit in the future, because right now the food industry is still coping with actually having hygienic and sanitized food and all products. So then I think that is something which we can look forward in the future. Edible packaging is something which will be sustainable definitely. But then still it's a little bit more towards, another 10 years, 20 years, it will take that. Yeah. So currently, our main goal should be whatever we have, make sure that it is hygienic, make sure it is nutritious. Yes.
Safe and nutritious. Okay. Next question, ma'am, is in pointer form. If you could just tell me that what are the opportunities that nutritionists can see in a food industry today? Okay.
See, nutritionist, I would reframe this question. Nutrition is just a education that you're having.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just a base that you're having. After completing your graduation or post graduation, it is your skill set that is going to help you out. It is not going to be only the education that you've gone through. So it's the skill set that is more important. So if you feel that you have a skill set wherein you like interpersonal relationships, if you want to interact with people more, you have to look to some roles which are more into that, like marketing and sales or customer relationship, some of that kind of a thing. Like I did my business development, I liked interacting with people, so that education that I had was there in the background, but then I used to interact with people, understand their problems, give my solutions. So that becomes a very good opportunity to grow yourself. Then again, you have some people have the knack of photography, so food photography is also a very good avenue that is there coming up, because social media is the thing that is there to actually grow yourself. Then again, you have regulatory compliance, that is a very good field that is coming up, because that also requires your knowledge of nutrition, your knowledge of food science. And let me tell you one other thing is, I'm not defaming FSSAI in any way in this, but then regulations are made with certain data in mind. Okay, so as nutritionists, as food professionals, when we are working in the food industry and we feel that there is something which needs to be changed, so you have to take that responsibility. You should not wait for somebody else. Okay, I will not do it, I'll let somebody else do it. You have to take that responsibility. Okay, I think this is not what is it should be. Let me find out what else can be done. So then you have to have that interaction with the FSSAI, with people who can influence FSSAI and get some changes done. So food regulation is also a very good scope right now, because FSSAI is itself going through a lot of transition. So they are open to suggestions. It is not that it's like something written on stone. It is something that they are ready to accept some challenges, because they know that the food industry in India is very varied. It's very diverse. You cannot pinpoint that. Even a simple thing like a poha can be different in different households, let alone the whole of country. In your same building, the poha can be so much different, right? So it can give you different nutrition. It can have so many other ingredients. So you have to keep that in mind.
So I think to sum it up, we can say it could be RT, it could be regulatory compliances, it could be even your like you said, interactive. If she or he is into a lot of
Marketing,
marketing.
techno marketing is a very good field because because we see marketing people in the food industry who have no knowledge about food. But if you have that knowledge in your kitty already, that you know what that food is, what the nutrition is, and then you do a marketing, it gives you more value.
So with this, I go to the next question. That is, what are the recent trends in food and nutrition that students should be aware, or if they're considering a career in your food industry? So, what are the recent trends that the students should know? I think you've spoken about nutraceuticals and you've spoken about prebiotics and probiotics. Any other trend that you feel is something that the students should be aware about?
Uh, See, again, this is a very difficult question to answer because food industry has so many food categories, and in each category there are so many things that can be done. So then, what I feel is whoever has that liking for any kind of a food category should dive deep into that particular food industry, see where the gaps are, because anybody can identify gaps. You know, you are a consumer of so many products, and you know what the industry is offering you right now. So if you find a gap over there, that is your opportunity. You and right now the situation is such that the government is giving you so many resources to become a food startup. I think you should utilize that. You don't have to have lakhs of rupees to start a food startup right today nowadays. You can start with a very good idea. You have the social media platforms for you to, put up that idea across into the industry, to the consumers, and through them again you have that opportunity to grow. So right now, I think that is how it should be rather than pinpointing that, okay, these are the opportunities. Because then if I say, definitely, when I say it's nutraceutical, I know students are such that, okay, she has said nutraceuticals, I'll do nutraceuticals. So I don't want that to happen. I want them to understand what industry excites them the most. If it is beverages, whether it is frozen food, whether it is fruits and vegetables, it can be anything. Every student has their own dreams and their own interest. So I would like them to understand it interests them, find some gap, what they would like to do in that particular food category and take it ahead. And I'm always there to guide them in case they require any guidance, I'm there to guide them. I can't I can't hear you.
I said we'll give your connects to our students if any one of them are interested. Yeah. Okay. So I think this is the last question on board from my side, and then we'll take some questions from our students also.
Sure, sure, sure.
So, ma'am, what has been the most rewarding aspect of your career in this field?
The most rewarding has been I have been interacting with all the stakeholders. So, stakeholders is a terminology which is used in the food industry to address those people who are involved in whatever work you're doing. So, I'm from a food industry. So, the consumer is a stakeholder, the regulators are a stakeholder, the suppliers are a stakeholder. Anybody and everybody who has to do anything with the work that I'm doing are stakeholders. So interacting with them, understanding where the issue lies, and then finding out solutions to those problems has been the most rewarding because that is what is the problem which is happening right now in India. There are problems, there are too many problems, but the solution providers are very less. And why? Because there's nobody to understand what is the disconnect between these two things. So if you become the connection between the problem and the solution, your job is done. I think that is what I aim to do, and that is what I am doing right now. I want to bridge that gap between the problem and the solution. So that has been more rewarding for me. Can't hear you, Nalini.
I feel it's very encouraging to hear you, ma'am. That is motivating and encouraging that you're, the bridge between the industry and the customers, or even the regulatory bodies. So that's a very, very important role that you're playing at the moment. Uh, okay. So we'll go to the next questions that are raised by the students. Uh,
Yes.
this, okay, there's a question from Kashish who says that what are the steps for a student who want to join food industry after BSc? I think you've already answered, but still, if you want to just give a crisp answer to it, ma'am, you can go ahead.
BSc, I would like to understand what specialization she's into.
Nutrition and dietetics is what she's written. BSc honors. She's done
Okay.
BSc honors. Yeah.
Okay, so from with BSc honors, I would first recommend you that if you could go for high studies, that would be a great suggestion from my side. Why? Because since you are a student right now, and if you go into the food industry currently, it's okay. I understand that some people want to get into a job immediately, but then higher studies is something which is also important to have a very good specialization in a particular subject, because graduation is something which gives you a general knowledge, and after that if you do a post graduation in something that you have a real liking for, it gives you a better scope to fit into the food industry. And another is that since you are in that mindset of a student, it becomes easier for you to complete those 2 years, because once you enter the food industry and then again come back to doing a masters, it becomes very challenging. So I would suggest that you look for a higher studies if it is possible for you. Otherwise, you can definitely join as a nutritionist. Right now, you have that capability of joining as a nutritionist in any of the food industries which is working on nutrition.
The next question is somewhat similar, but one more added question over there is that any particular course that you would recommend after completing their masters or something like that in the specialization of food and nutrition.
No, I wouldn't recommend any kind of course, because right now things have changed a lot. You have many online courses that are going on, and somewhere I would also again reiterate that it is your interest which is more important rather than me telling you you do this course. It is more important that you identify what you would like to do, because that is more important. Your passion should be in the work that you're doing. Only then you're going to excel in it. You'll get good job, you'll get good salary, you'll get everything which is good, which you're aiming for.
So, next question, ma'am. I think this all of us as a start of our career must have faced this experience. So, this is shared by Shree, and she says that I'm doing this food industry course, and I'm interested in this, but many people around her say that this is not a very high-paying job.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she's saying, if I get into it and after completing my post graduation, would there be any chances of me to get, high paying jobs? She's still not pursued her BSc or MSc, but she's, I think, just in her initial stages. But she wants to know that after she completes, will the, pay scale of our industry really go high?
Yeah. So that reminds me of a incident which happened with me when I before I joined this course. Okay, when I started my 11th, 12th, I've done my 11th and 12th standard in home science. Okay, which is offered by SNDT University. So when I joined this particular course, I had a friend of mine who had also joined with me. So definitely that this was the thinking even then, because when she joined the course, one of her relatives taunted both of us that what are you going to do making chapati and bhaji? Okay, so that is what has been there in my head till now. So that has been now, I think, more than 20 years now. But that particular thing is still here, and I'm still proving myself that it is not chapati bhaji that I'm going to make. I'm doing far more. So don't worry, let anybody say anything. People who don't know about that course, it's your job to tell them, okay, this is not chapati bhaji that I'm going to make. And in fact, if you go to see, there is hotel management that do actually chapati bhaji, but they are far more better, right? So then why not you? You are going to do something better than them. So don't worry.
And I would just like to add to this, ma'am, that do not look for the pay scale in your initial years. This is what I would like to say, but maybe I'm being very diplomatic in this. But the fact is, ma'am, later on, the growth that you see with the the compromises that you do or the adaptations that you take in the first few years really gives you a hike in the later on stages of your career.
Yes, yes, definitely. See, I would also not recommend that you don't look for a good salary. Initial salary has to be good, yes, definitely. But then don't just rely on what you learned and what you got the salary based on what. Like if you've done your masters and you are doing a job and whatever salary, I'll take an example of 25,000. You're getting a 25,000 salary for your job, which is based on your master's degree. Don't just stay there, do some additional courses. There are so many courses which are available which can upskill you. You have to upskill yourself continuously. Even right now, I try to do one course every month. It may be related directly to what I'm doing right now, or it may be somewhere which I have a liking for. So I would like to tell you that I have even done a course on tally. Tally is nothing to do with what I'm doing currently. But then somewhere it has given me some knowledge of what exactly a accounts person goes through. So whenever I'm in that particular industry, or in future if I want to start a business of my own, I know what I have to look for in an accountant for my company, right? So then any knowledge is not going to go waste. If you have a slight liking also for any particular field of knowledge, try to gain some knowledge about that and keep upskilling yourself. The more you upskill, the more knowledge you will have, the more good decisions you will take. Always remember that whenever you go higher up in the food industry or any industry for that matter, your managers, your chief managers, your CEOs, they don't do the ground job. Ground job is done by persons like you and me. But then what is their job? It is their job to take decisions, and decisions are taken based on their experiences, the resources that they have, the skills that they have. So if you want to grow in the food industry, you have to have very good knowledge of various fields to do that.
Next question, and the following question are somewhat related, so I'll just club them to you for you. Can we do masters in food technology with a degree in BSc nutrition and dietetics, and also if the food technology involves meat industry?
Yes, food technology definitely involves meat industry. Now, for the first question, I'm not sure whether you can do a MTech after you have done a BSc, because MTech, as far as I know, requires mathematics as a base in the graduation. So that you will have to find out wherever you're applying for an MTech. You have to find out whether that particular degree that you hold is eligible enough for the MTech.
They meant to say masters in food technology.
Yeah, so food tech. So whenever it's a food technology, usually they take a maths also as a component of that particular course. So then you just have to find out, because that was something which I had a hindrance, because I had done my graduation in BSc. It was BSc Food
Okay.
Science and Quality Control. So even though I also wanted to go into the technology, but then I didn't like maths at that moment. So then I definitely did not go into that, but then that didn't stop me from gaining the knowledge that I want. So I think it's fine.
So after doing food technology, can somebody aim to become a quality assurance, or there'll be some other master's course that will help her to get into quality assurance?
Yeah, you can do a quality assurance. I think quality assurance will be a small part of your master's course syllabus. And if you really want to go into that, definitely there are short term courses, even not short term, I'll say 1 day, 2 day awareness programs also, because quality assurance is something that you make standard operating procedures for whatever processes you're following in the food industry, and you make sure that those processes are followed. So it's more like a manager kind of a job, wherein you are following what is recommended to be done to make the food safe. So even if you don't have a proper degree like a quality assurance, some masters or something, it's not required. You have to have that knowledge. You have a basic degree, you understand food, you understand food safety. Only the skills that you require is how to implement those particular processes and how to get it done from other people also. I think that's enough.
Fine. I think we've answered this question by Anuja. We'll go to the next one. What kind of additional courses? I think you've also done that. Ma'am, does a master's in nutrition and dietetics have more scope than just doing a master's in either nutrition or dietetics?
See, it again depends. See, whenever now I'll tell you another thing is whenever people come to me to ask me, ma'am, what should I do for my future? It's only one thing that I tell them, close your eyes. In the next 10 years, where do you see yourself? Are you a dietitian? Are you working in the food industry? Or are you sitting at home doing your own business? That is what is more important. Close your eyes, understand where you want to go. Depending on that, choose what course you need to do.
Very rightly said, ma'am. Very rightly answered. Thank you. Thank you so much. And with this, I think we have finished with our question and answer session. Anything that you would like to add, ma'am? Or
No, I'm very glad that you invited me for this. Yeah, thank you, Trushali. Okay, I loved interacting with all of them. I would have loved this to be a very physical kind of interaction because I love that more than the online things. But then, yeah, it's I'm in Mumbai. You all are in different cities, so then I think this is a best platform to get in touch. But then I would suggest that whatever knowledge you gained right now with this particular podcast, please share it with your friends and also share it with people who think that you are not into the right field of study and you will not get a job. Please tell them that it is not that way. And if you find somebody who's very hard to convince, I am there. You can contact me. I will talk to them.
yes, ma'am, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, from
Thank you.
also on behalf of Symbiosis Skills and Professional University, from the School of Beauty and Wellness, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It's been an incredibly informative and an inspiring session to hear from you about your experiences, your job opportunities, and also how you have explained the role of nutrition in the food industry. And to our listeners, I would again want to say thank you for joining us today. And next, wait for our next podcast on next Saturday. Until then, take care and goodbye, all of you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
very much. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you.
Recording.